Hello, I'm Yasmine Hussein. I'm a researcher at Bibliotheca Alexandrina. My main topics of research is archaeology, Hellenistic archaeology. Actually, I was in the French school in Egypt, and then I went to France. I made my studies there for the university and my master. Then I came back to Egypt in 2008 and started working at the Bibliotheca as a researcher. I was working a lot on in the Hellenistic period. The Isiac cult. The Isiac cult is the cult of Egyptian cults in Europe. It was the topic of my master, and I was working, writing in books and articles about the mobility of knowledge, the mobility of religions in this period, especially the ancient period, Greco-Roman period. In my first book, it was Sacred Places. This book, it was about sacred places in the Mediterranean, in collaboration with other researchers from Greece, from Spain, from France, and from Egypt. And we were writing about pilgrimage in the Mediterranean. My topic, it was about Alexandria especially, and the pilgrimage in Alexandria and in St. Minas, 100 kilometers near Alexandria in the Christian period. We were talking a lot about this idea of acculturation of cults. When the Egyptian cults went to Europe, Greece, mainly it started by Alexandria to going to Greece, and from Greece to Italy, and then with the Roman Empire to the whole Europe. It was very related with the economic part. So where the Egyptian bread, the Egyptian fruits, the Egyptian legume go to Europe with the cult, because in this period the temple was the banks. So it was very important, both of them, to work together. And also it was important for the dynamic of thoughts and ideas and philosophy. The Egyptian philosophy, the Egyptian thought and the religion, from this period they start going to Europe, and it was with a connotation with the idea of the Greek and the Greek civilization, and then the Roman civilization. And we have this map of Egyptian cults in Europe. Then this idea of immigration, this idea of dynamic of thought, dynamic of religion is become my main important topic, you can see. So for the other side, when I'm working like an artist as photographer, I'm also very interested by this idea, so I start working on projects about immigration, especially at this moment now we are talking about this vocabulary of immigration. Who is immigrant, who is refugee, and why we can have a lot of vocabulary to explain or to describe the same person, but depends when he is coming from. He is coming from the south or coming from the north. So this is mainly the most important thing, topics that I'm working on. Normally the pilgrimage is coming from north to south. So even in Egypt itself, the pilgrims, they are coming from the north of Egypt to the south, the center of religious places, sacred places. And then after, when we have Alexandria like as the most important city or the capital of Egypt in the Hellenistic period, so it was in the center between the north and the south. So Egyptians, they are coming to visit or make a pilgrimage to Alexander tombs or the Soma, and European or Greeks and Romans, they are coming also from the north to the south to Alexandria to make this kind of pilgrimage. And then after, when we are talking about the Christian period, for Saint Menas and for the most important church and places, sacred places in Alexandria. They are coming even to go to Jerusalem. They are passing by Alexandria to make like a small pilgrimage, then in this way to go to Jerusalem. After a while, when we had like temples and church in Greece, and so even from Europe they are coming to Greece, which is the south of Europe. So we can say that this idea of pilgrimage is coming from west to east and from north to south. So this is the religious pilgrimage. But if we can talk about this dynamic of thought and the ideas that are coming from south to north. So people are coming from north to south, and ideas that are coming from south to north. And then, with the modern time, we saw now that the immigration and the dynamic is inverted. People are going from south to north, and sometimes ideas are coming from north to south. And this is very interesting and dynamic that I want to explore more and more from the maybe archaeological way and the anthropological way now, and also artistic way, because I have the two sides, academic and at the same time I consider myself as an artist. Of course, we are talking about pilgrimage ritual is here, and even the ritual, we are talking always about the acculturation. So the acculturation, how we change, and where we can, the place itself, sometimes we change the sacred name. It's a temple for Isis, then it's a church for Marie, and then it can be even a mosque. But the place itself is sacred, it's still sacred. Some researchers, some scholars are talking about that people want to a new face, want to delete the face before it. But other theory that I am for this other way of thinking, that the place itself is sacred. Whatever is your sacred god, but the place is sacred, the place has its secret. So the place will still sacred, will still important for the people, and then even if they change the name of their god or the way of their face, but the place itself was still the most important. This is something, and then the ritual normally is very related with the place. When it's a place with water, because normally Egyptian religion are really related, very related with water, with the Nile. So when it's a place with water, we will find rituals that contain a lot of water, a lot of things like this. Rituals also is related to the architecture of the place. So normally we have the domos, the Egyptian domos, and then that become this place is a very important position in the Egyptian temples, that it become a position for the saints in the Christianity, that it become a position for the saint in the Islamic way, for the Sufi saints. So even for rituals there is a dynamic, this is a culturation, and we can find that all come from the very beginning, the very one source. I'm working on two main projects now, an artistic project about this mobility and the immigration and the vocabulary of immigration and of mobility, and I'm working on now in comparison with the past. So how we see and how we relate to the past, and we from the archaeology, from text, from all kinds that we can find from the past, And now with photography, with interview, and with all this kind of immigrants from coming from the north to the south, so they are immigrant or worker or artist, and from south to north. Now in this day, what we can say, why we tell about them that they are refugee or worker and all of this, how they saw themselves, how the society describes them, and how from the other side we saw them. And all of this I'm working on this project. Now it's an artistic project with the academic and the research base. And the other project, actually, it's a project for my business, Note, for art and media production. And we are working to make like a database about the archaeological sites in Egypt and in the Mediterranean related to Egyptian history. All these places and temples and cities with Egyptian artifact in Egypt and in Europe, and it will start like to see this movement from the prehistoric period, the movement from the desert to the Nile and in the Egyptian in Egypt, then the movement from Egypt to Europe and to other places, and through history all the movement from and to Egypt and this place.